Hello, greetings and hello, and welcome to a brand new Axis and Allies video for Axis and Allies 1941. Today I'm going to be going over the United Kingdom and strategies to keep in mind as you destroy the Axis in this board game. So first off, let's just get right into it. Purchases. What will you purchase as the United Kingdom? Well, first, before that, I want to let you guys know the three main objectives you want to be looking for as the UK. So first up, your primary objective in this game is to make sure London is safe. You are the only one who could really defend London turn one and be able to build a bunch of infantry. So how can you tell if London is safe? First up, you need to make sure you got to make sure the Germans do not put any transports in their seas. If there's a transport here, that means London is in danger. They have a ton of air force that could hit London. If the Germans build a transport turn one, you better build some infantry or something to stack up the United Kingdom. Your second objective in this game is to make sure Russia is safe, specifically Moscow. Yes, protect Moscow at all costs. You can't really do nothing about that right now, but what you will want to do is build a bunch of units and progressively send them into Russia eventually. Your third objective is to make sure that India is safe. If India falls, it's going to be pretty bad for the United Kingdom. It's going to hinder your progress to assert your dominance in the Pacific Ocean here, because what you're going to do as India is annoy the Japanese and take back China, essentially. So, first objective, defend London. Second objective, defend Russia. And third objective is India. India should fall before Russia, and Russia should fall before London does in any game. So, turn one. Let's go ahead and do our purchases. Is London safe? Yes, it is safe. I don't need to build any infantry here. I am perfectly fine. Russia, we can't really do anything about that at the moment. And the third, is India safe? Absolutely not. India is in peril right now. They can be overwhelmed by the Japanese turn one fairly easily. So what can the Japanese do? Well, they could send in these guys in from Southeast Asia into India. They could also send this little transport right here, grab these two infantry, go 1-2, also drop these guys into India. What else can they bring? They could send in this fighter, 1-2-3, and land back on their aircraft carrier. They could send a fighter. They could also send in this bomber, 1-2-3-4-5, and then lands back here. They could send in 2 planes and 4 infantry into India, and they could take it pretty much turn one. You cannot let this happen. So I'll just put these guys back real quick. So what will you purchase as your first purchase? Well, the best purchase, and in my opinion, is to build a fighter in India. So you'll have 2 fighters in India, as well as your bomber. That bomber could also reach into India in the non-combat move. 2 fighters. Your fighters are the best defense unit you could buy, that money can buy you in India, turn one. So go ahead and do that. So turn one, we're going to build a fighter. This fighter. Okay, so combat moves. What will you do for combat moves? This move in the Pacific is what you want to always be doing. You want to taking out this fleet successfully and having your destroyer alive is going to protect India. And I'll show you why. So if you take this destroyer, so what you're going to do is do this. Take this destroyer, move it over, take this submarine, send him over here, and do this battle. You're also going to send this fighter over here and do 1-2 and attack this sea zone. Now, the goal here is to potentially take out both of these without losing your destroyer. If you lose your destroyer, then the Japanese can be aggressive on India, and that would be pretty bad. So let me show you if your destroyer does happen to win. and your submarine, you know, lucky hits. The submarine also wins. Your non-combat move, you're going to send this fighter back into India, because that is the only area it could really land to, and from India it could then go ahead and support the Soviet Union next turn, or potentially even land back into Australia if you really wanted to defend Australia this game. However, having this destroyer alive in this sea zone, first off, it will do two things. It will enable your transports to be more safe from the Japanese. So if you put your transport here, the Japanese won't be able to send in their fighter. They could send it 3, but they'll need to bring their aircraft carrier here, but they can't since you have your destroyer in that sea zone. They also cannot take this transport load with these 2 infantry into India turn 1 because that destroyer is blocking their path. So they'll have to destroy that before they get into India if they want to have good odds in the battle, of course. So, however, the Germans did do this weird move, and this move is actually really crucial for them, and it will also will enable them to attack your transports if you do go put them here. So if the Germans do happen to do this move, your transports are kind of dead either way. So so this is the only combat you should be doing in the Pacific. For non-combat moves, if this does happen and Germany does have this territory, that means this sea zone is no longer safe. And that means their bomber right here can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, and land into there. So this is not a good sea zone to put your transport in. So in this case, it doesn't really matter if this destroyer blocks that. And if the Germans did not take Egypt last turn, then your 2 transports will be safe to go into Sea Zone 27. But in this case, they are not. So what you're going to do is do a transport. You're going to scatter. You're going to scatter your transports and make it a bit harder for the Japanese and the Axis to take them out. So instead of putting both of them here, you'll just put one here, just to drop the bomber from attacking somewhere else. And if they don't happen to see this, or potentially, if they just don't happen to see this, then this guy's alive. They'll go over this way and then regroup into the UK fleet. This one over here, you're going to split up. So you're going to send this guy over this way. You do not want to take your infantry from Australia though. Why? Because if you take this infantry over here, there's no way it can land. So if they just send in 1 fighter, that's a 10 production play they just did, and they just completely destroyed your infantry and this transport, because this is a vulnerable transport. So leave this guy here. It'll act as some sort of deterrent for the Japanese, but there really is no better option for that. So this is the worst case scenario. So then go ahead and land that back there, and then if you place another fighter here, that should be pretty much all good. Over here, this guy, you don't want to move him up because the Germans can deal damage to you. And you do not want to have your guys die for no reason in this game. Instead, you're just going to leave this guy here. You're just going to leave this guy here and make them advance forward or do something about it. Because if you do put him here, he'll just get wiped out and he probably will get no hits and this guy's just gone. And then South Africa is going to be taken next turn. In this move, they'll have to send in their tank, which is a more likely battle that you could potentially win instead of them bringing their infantry and tank over. If they didn't take this territory in Egypt, then go ahead and instead of this move over here, and of course your destroyer's alive here, go ahead and take the Australian infantry, and then what you would normally do is put them in Belgian Congo and move them up if there was absolutely no Germans here. So talk about that. That is the Pacific. Also, in the scenario where this happens, because sometimes a German player doesn't decide to attack Egypt, and say they will stack North Africa instead. So say they stack North Africa instead, and you'll have your 2 infantry and your tank in this area. North Africa in this game is worth absolutely nothing. However, it is crucial for the Axis. It is crucial for the Allies to hold. It is an incredible position to send in all of your fighters. So what do I mean by that? If you happen to take North Africa, say you send in your 2 tanks, your 1 tank, and you sent in your bomber, your fighter, and this other fighter into North Africa, and you absolutely wipe them. You take North Africa. That is what you normally do. Try to take out North Africa as fast as possible. And for these battles, you would have a submarine here. I guess they kind of did not submerge my submarine, but for your destroyer and your final submarine over here, you're just going to send them into this battle right here. And whatever, your submarine in that battle to try to take that out in the Atlantic generally. And then all these planes, you're going to want to send them into North Africa. If they happen to not send anything into North Africa, say they just have a tank here, and you have your two guys in a tank, just send in your 2 guys in a tank into North Africa. And then these planes over here that are remaining, instead of attacking this little fleet right here that the U.S. is potentially going to attack, you're going to attack their battleship. So we're going to take this destroyer, send it over to Sea Zone 8. You'll have that little submarine as well, and then send absolutely all of your planes to wipe out the German Navy. That's the word. And then also, if possible, so after that is a decisive battle for you. However, this transport may be alive, in fact, but they'll start dropping off more troops into Africa. So then next turn, you would have to try to focus down this transport. But turn 1, it is really crucial to take out their battleships first, take out their actual navies, and then the U.S. will be able to build a pretty big navy to protect and eventually destroy the German submarine fleet over here. But yeah, so in the Atlantic, number 1 thing to do, turn 1, is try to take North Africa. And then second turn, try to take North Africa. Just go ahead and try to take North Africa. It's a very good territory to have as the Allies. And then second, if you can't take North Africa, take out this navy here. Wipe them out from existence. So, and hopefully at the end of the turn, the game board will look sort of something like this. Your bomber attacks here, and then your bomber, go ahead and move this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we put this guy into India. Why do we put this guy into India? Because this is going to fight the Japanese. So you're going to also build a fighter into India. And what this is going to do is that fighter is going to give you attacking power and also defending power. Fighters are incredibly useful in this game, and you should always try to build one when you have the money. So if you have 3 planes here, and say the Japanese, they see these money islands down here, they want to take them. They send in their stuff. They send in these guys over, say, and they try to take the East Indies. Boom, they take it. You have 3 planes here. You could send these planes into this battle and wipe out their navy from existence. But yeah, so keep that in mind as well. You have fighters, they're not just for defense, but they're also for offense. Keep in mind, you can actually send your squadron of fighters to take out Japanese ships if they don't have the defense for it in this area. And the bomber, this bomber should pretty much be chilling in India the entire game, unless this area is absolutely undefended and it needs every single point it needs. This bomber should be in India, and it should be helping your guys to push forward into China and threatening the navies that Japan will put in down in this area, and try to go for your money islands. So Air Force, Air Force, Air Force, Air Force. After this turn, you should probably build some more Air Force. Okay, back over here. So non-combat moves for this. You're going to take this guy from Gibraltar, and, well, we'll say we did this battle up here. We did this battle up here. So this guy from Gibraltar did 1, 2. Okay, so then he'll go ahead and do 1, 2 back into North Africa if you did happen to take North Africa. If you did not take North Africa, then go ahead and land this guy into Gibraltar. For this guy over here, the Gibraltar is faster for the guy that spawned in, that landed in Gibraltar. However, for this guy, if you happen to not take North Africa, there is a faster way to get to Moscow. And if you go to Gibraltar, that's 1 turn, and that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 2 turns, and then 1, 2. That's 4 turns. And then the most it can get is the Middle East. If you want to support Russia pretty fast, what you're going to do is send this fighter 1, 2, 3. So its 4th movement will land into Iceland. So Iceland, we're going to use this island to shuck over fighters, considering you don't have North Africa. If you do not have North Africa, Iceland is a very good alternative for this supporting Russia with fighters strategy. So from Iceland, you can actually do 1, 2, 3, 4. Land them into Russia, just like that. Okay, so that's non-combat moves for that fighter. That guy could kind of chill there. For this area over here, this transport, this could potentially be attacked by the USA. And the USA, this turn probably won't build a navy if they are good at it. They will probably go ahead and send these guys this way, or probably send these guys to attack here. But there's also if the Japanese do happen to stack Pearl Harbor, so Japanese do this move, and they just delete this battleship from the game, the US is going to need absolutely everything and to counterattack this battle. That means that these guys potentially are going to be still alive. 1 destroyer cannot take out these two submarines. So this guy is in a little bit of danger. So in this situation, you would probably, if this navy is destroyed, then you could send them into Sea Zone 1. And from Sea Zone 1, you also have to make sure that the bomber in Norway, Finland, if they happen to put a bomber there, or a bomber in Western Europe, that keep in mind that that can actually reach you. But in this position, the submarines won't be able to hit you, and whatever was left in this sea zone, if there was any, won't be able to hit you. However, the battleship can move to here and cut off whatever this transport is from regrouping back to the US Navy. So communicate with your US buddy, and if they say they're going to build a destroyer, at least an aircraft carrier, if they could build 2 destroyers on their turn and put them into Sea Zone 11, that would be incredible. So that would be the safer option to go for, would be putting them there. However, if there is no battleship, that means from this sea zone you'll be able to just go right here, because the battleship, because the submarines won't be able to block movement. You could just go right through if a submarine was in Sea Zone 10. So you can regroup with the US Navy, and you'll be safe right there. But in this situation, they don't have a battleship, so I'll put them in Sea Zone 1. Okay, that's non-combat moves for that area. Non-combat. This guy in Gibraltar, that guy back there, and went back to Gibraltar. Got some Germans right here, I guess, just kind of chilling. This guy right here, yep. And okay, so for these little transports here, this transport as well as this transport, your goal for these transports is to regroup at London. So from here, here, and just send these guys all into London. And once you have a navy, you'll be able to start sending a ton of troops into West Russia every single turn. You'll be able to make 3 tanks and be able to send 3 tanks at a time into West Russia every single, or I mean, not West Russia, Western Europe. And yeah, so for those transports, try to get them to the UK if you can. Otherwise, if they're in a situation where they're about to die, then try to get as much value out of them as possible. So that is that. Now that's the initial setup you want to be doing. And now for the long-term strategies to keep in mind. So, like I said before, is London safe? Yes or no? Is Russia safe? Yes or no? And is India safe? Make sure Russia is safe, even if it does cost India. So, after turn 2, say, turn 2 happens, these guys get deleted. Your goal with the Indian army here is, next turn you will have around enough to build a fighter and an infantry. So, what you're going to do is try to spawn an infantry, create an infantry in India every single turn, and eventually, and build air force. Specifically fighters. So if you can get away with it, build an infantry here and build a fighter in Australia. You can build a fighter in Australia as long as the Japanese don't have a transport in range of Australia. If they do have a transport in range of Australia, do not build them in Australia. Build them in the UK and send them over to Russia or North Africa and then into India. But if you put this here and lose your fighter, that is incredibly bad. Australia pretty much will fall to the Japanese if no matter really what you do, unless it's like really late game and you have like 1 million fighters in the game, then that's like the only position where you'll be able to hold Australia. So, fighter here in Australia, infantry in India. If you can't build a fighter in Australia, then build it there. But really, India, you need to be building infantry. And then, unlike the Soviet Union, where the Soviet Union should be stacking territories and preventing the Germans from attacking them, and actually sending like 2 infantry and their plane to attack an area and doing these trades. So you actually want to be doing those trades because you're going to have a big air force in this game. So even if it's like 2v2, so if the Japanese happen to leave these 2 guys here and you have your 3 planes, and India isn't really under threat of anything else, just go ahead and send your 2 infantry and all of your planes. Your goal isn't necessarily to take the territory, it's to deal damage and kill their infantry and take the Japanese infantry off the mainland. So there's the general most effective strategy for the Allies is to first take out the Japanese from the mainland, and then start pressuring Germany as much as possible. Landlock the Japanese, and then you should be it should be fairly easy to take on Germany, because you'll be starting to create a bunch of territories. Even also if the Soviet Union's like also helping you out here, like this, Japan is really kind of in a pickle in this game. So yeah, just keep sniping their infantry. Make sure to send in at least the amount of infantry that the Japanese have. So if there was 3 here and you sent in 2, there could be the potential for them to get 3 hits. You don't want that to happen and lose one of your fighters for being unlucky. You want to send always the exact amount of infantry. If you do want to hold the territory, send like a 4. or one more. But the people in India should be attacking China and liberating China. And once China's done, go ahead and attack Africa if the Germans happen to do stuff there. And then if there's nothing else for your troops in China to do, just go ahead and kind of sit them there and prepare to counterattack if the Japanese do build another transport and try to land again. But once India is relatively safe, say India is safe, say Russia is safe, and say that London is safe, what do you do now? Your fourth and fifth objectives is to take over. First, your fourth objective is to take over China as the UK. That is kind of your job as the UK, is to take over China and take out these territories that Japan has. Your second objective is to pressure Germany. So you're going to build fleets and a bunch of guys in this area. If you already have China, go ahead and build a bunch of units and just keep stacking them and putting them into Western Europe. So building a navy. These fighters are also pretty much navy units. You could you could make these fighters into navy units. So what you can do is, say you have all these fighters in India. India's safe, so you send them to, it's been pretty fast. And then you send them into Russia. You have a bunch of fighters in Russia. However, you don't have a navy, but the U.S. is like ready to send in some stuff in, or you wanted to send in like a navy, and that you need to build some more navy because the Germans are building like fighters and stuff every turn. So what you can actually do is convert your fighters into navy, pretty much. So from Russia, if you say you were camping all of your fighters into Russia, you could do 1, 2, 3, 4 and land them all here. And then this turn you would build an aircraft carrier, and that would give your fleet a bunch more defense, instant defense. And if you needed more and you had like so many fighters, Russia was safe, go ahead and just build more. And then from there, if you could attack Western Europe, or you could attack Norway, Finland. Now, when to attack Western Europe? So, if you have, say, 3 units, for example, I'm just going to take these guys from here and over here. Yeah, so say your navy was defended, and say the Germans had like a bunch of guys on Germany, like a ridiculous amount of guys on Germany. It is crazy, and then like they'll have like a couple guys over here. Actually, no. Let's say they have like absolutely no, and they're absolutely not defending Western Europe. And so they had a massive force here in Germany, and you were going to land some people. Should you land people in Western Europe? No, you do not want to land these troops into Western Europe. Why? Because they're going to get deleted. They will get deleted next turn by the Germans, who are going to send absolutely everything over and pretty much wipe those guys from the game. They have a massive attack value to do that. However, if the United States bring in a bunch of their stuff and also add them into there, that could be good. But really, taking Western Europe is very key, because that is pretty much a third, probably. Let's see, they have 12, so that would be an entire fourth of the German economy just gone, like every turn. If you were able to hold Western Europe, try to do that as much as possible. If you can't hold Western Europe and you're going to get absolutely overwhelmed, then go ahead and send some guys into Norway, Finland, and just start putting guys in Norway, Finland. From Norway, Finland, you don't necessarily want to bring them into Karelia, because unless the Soviets are absolutely getting dunked on, because the Germans are going to most likely have a stack in West Russia, and really this army that you're sending here isn't really going to be threatening them to actually hold Germany. So really, you could just take and hold Norway, Finland, but really your main prize should be Western Europe. and just get into a position where you could have a bunch of guys. So say if you regrouped all of your 3 transports, you had 6 guys ready to go, land them in. The US had like 6 guys also, land them all into Western Europe, take it out. And yeah, Western Europe and Southern Europe, US and the UK should be coming from this area, and the Soviet Union should be able to start pushing this way. So for trading, Soviet Union shouldn't be doing trading, but you should be doing the trading for them. So if there was like 1 infantry in the Caucasus, the Soviet Union shouldn't really be able to, shouldn't be the one to attack that. You should be the one to attack that. So like send in 1 infantry and then your entire air force, because your air force you have a great chance of actually one-shotting them, unlike the Soviet Union, which will have 1 air force that they can send in plus their infantry. Go ahead and start doing those 1 troop trades for the Soviet Union and helping them out. So that is I believe that should be it. That should be absolutely it. But yeah, so hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys will absolutely dominate the Axis in your next Axis and Allies game. But yeah, so thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.